From the moment we are born, we are taught to perceive time as a straight line, a rigid sequence of past, present, and future. This structure seems safe, predictable, logical. But the soul does not recognize these divisions. It moves in spirals, in vibrations, in cycles that return like invisible waves. Linear time is a three-dimensional convention, created to give meaning to matter, but incapable of containing the vastness of consciousness. The oldest spiritual traditions already whispered this truth. In Hermeticism, time is seen as a manifestation of divine mentalism, an illusion shaped by perception. In Vedanta, the now is all that exists. The past is memory, the future is projection. And in the Akashic records, accessed by mystics and psychics, all possibilities already exist, like mirrors waiting to be touched by the right consciousness. There is no absolute loss, only unaccessed paths, still closed portals, experiences still vibrating in other corners of reality. Have you ever felt that a part of you remained somewhere in the past? An opportunity that slipped away, a love that didn't blossom, a version of yourself that was never born? These feelings are not nostalgic delusions. They are vibrational memories of alternative timelines where your soul walked other paths and which still pulsate in subtle dimensions. They have not disappeared. They just await your consciousness to be collapsed back into the now. When you believe that time has been lost, you condemn yourself to stagnation. But when you understand that time is fluid, you begin to perceive everything that seemed to have escaped can still return. The secret? Change your relationship with time. Stop seeing the clock as a judge and start seeing it as a mirror of your vibration, because the restoration of lost years does not begin with external miracles. It begins with an internal decision to abandon the illusion of linearity. The soul does not walk in a straight line. It dances, it spirals, it returns, whenever you are ready to rediscover what you thought was gone. There are pains that don't scream. They echo, silent, persistent. They emerge in moments of quietness. When looking back and realizing how much time has passed, how many chances have faded, how many versions of yourself were left behind. This feeling that life ran in another direction and you got stuck in a cycle of repetition, stagnation, or oblivion is not just sadness. It is a code. The pain of lost years carries a dense, yet sacred, vibrational charge. It is not there to punish you, but to summon you. Every time you feel regret for something you didn't live, for a dream you abandoned, for a version of yourself that never had space to flourish, the universe registers this vibration as a request for rescue. The suffering you feel is the soul trying to remind you of something that didn't die. It just hid in the invisible. Guilt, melancholy, longing for what could have been, are vibrational symptoms of cycles that remained open, of energies that were not concluded, of chapters awaiting closure or restart. And contrary to what many think, it is not necessary to deny or erase these emotions. It is necessary to decipher them. Because when the heart sincerely turns to the desire for reintegration, the universe begins to respond. Pain becomes a portal. Regret, if consciously recognized, becomes an impulse to return. It's as if the soul were saying, I am not suffering for what is past, I am suffering because I still want to recover it. And the universe, hearing this, begins to move everything around to return to you. Not the past as it was, but the vibrational essence of what was lost, updated for your now. You don't feel this pain for no reason. It is the spiritual alarm that awakens restoration. When you choose to listen to this call instead of hiding from it, a new frequency opens, and that's when the invisible begins to reorganize itself. Before we continue, if this video is being helpful to you, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment below what has touched you the most so far. This helps us continue spreading these messages through the universe, and it could be the beginning of someone's restoration. The universe rarely screams, it whispers. And for those who have learned to listen with their hearts, signs begin to appear like lights in the fog. Small glimmers indicating that something is about to return, to align, to restart unexpectedly. Perhaps you've experienced a déjà vu so vivid it felt like a reunion with a version of yourself lost in time, or dreamed of people, places, and moments from the past as if they were alive. More alive now than when they actually happened. Perhaps you see repeating numbers like 1111, 1212, or other sequences that appear persistently, like vibrational codes trying to wake you up. These are just some of the signs announcing the timeline of restoration is approaching the now. Those projects you abandoned years ago, they call again. People you lost contact with reappear without logical explanation. Opportunities similar to those that slipped away return in new guises. All of this is orchestrated by something greater than coincidence. It is cosmic intelligence organizing the fragments to remind you that time was not lost, just postponed. And the more conscious you become of these signs, the faster they intensify. Careful observation is a vibrational accelerator. When you recognize a sign and give thanks, you strengthen it. When you follow your intuition without knowing exactly why, you allow the collapse of the new timeline to manifest. The invisible loves to be recognized, and when you honor the signs, you invite them to multiply. Don't ignore subtle sensations. That sudden intuition, that emotion without reason, that unexpected reunion, are clues that what seemed forgotten is being woven back into your trajectory. Restoration begins long before something happens on the physical plane. It begins when the universe realizes you are ready to see with the eyes of the soul. For a long time, the concept of karma was misunderstood, treated as punishment, an unpaid debt, or unchangeable fate. But in vibrational reality, karma is not punishment. It is imbalance. It is a dissonant frequency that calls for correction, not condemnation. And the good news is, destiny is not written in stone. It is a vibrational score that can be rewritten by awakened consciousness. When you emit a vibration, whether of pain, guilt, love, or regret, the universe responds with precision. It does not judge. It mirrors. If in the past you emitted frequencies of fear, limitation, or abandonment, this generated compatible realities. But the instant you change your vibration, your timeline changes too. And this is the key to restoring lost years. You don't need to fix the past, just emit a new frequency that transcends it. The rewriting of destiny begins with presence. When you take vibrational responsibility for what you feel, think, and choose, you begin to release the energetic blockages that previously prevented certain outcomes from happening. What seemed to be negative karma was, in fact, just an unconscious repetition. And repetition dissolves when consciousness awakens. By aligning your emotion with a new intention, loving, elevated, lucid, you signal to the universe that you are ready to access a restorative timeline. You enter a frequency that not only interrupts the cycle of almost and never worked out, but also activates the convergence of events, people, and opportunities that were previously inaccessible. Nothing is more powerful than a soul that chooses to vibrate differently. Because in that instant, destiny bows, portals open, probabilities reorganize. You don't need to fight with the past. You need to collapse a new future that resonates with who you have become. It's hard to accept that what hurt the most was in fact sacred. But spiritual truth rarely reveals itself logically. It reveals itself by contrast, by inner revelation, by the soul's maturation. The dark years, those periods when nothing flourished, when everything seemed silent, forgotten, or punished, were in fact a hidden altar. A sacred space where the invisible prepared what your eyes could not yet see. The soul does not awaken under applause. It purifies itself in anonymity. While you felt you were standing still, the energy around you was being accumulated like dammed water about to overflow. The frustrations, the closed doors, the postponements, and even the failures were not interruptions. They were refinements. The universe does not waste pain. Everything you endured in silence has been transformed into fertile ground, charged with latent power. There is a spiritual alchemy happening in the dark. While the world called you delayed, the divine called you reserved. What seemed like absence was, in fact, incubation, a vibrational gestation necessary so that upon returning, you not only received what was lost, but were able to sustain, multiply, and honor it with maturity. Many look back and see only wasted time, but those with spiritual eyes recognize there was the foundation of everything. Pain was cement, waiting was healing, solitude was preparation, nothing was random, and nothing passed in vain. What hurt in silence now blossoms as wisdom, compassion, and inner power. If you feel indebted to time, you may be about to discover that in reality, it was accumulating spiritual credit in your favor. The dark years were an altar, not a prison. And every altar one day receives fire. One day what was poured out in tears returns as an abundant harvest. Restoration is not just a gift from the universe. It is a response to your frequency. For what was lost to return multiplied, your energy needs to be adjusted to what you wish to access. Because the universe does not deliver what you beg for with fear. It manifests what you already vibrate as inner truth. And that is why the first step to restoring your lost years is to become vibrationally compatible with the reality you desire. This is not about toxic positivity or denying pain. It is about conscious transmutation. When you begin to emit a frequency that honors your own worth, your light, your mission, the universe understands that you are ready. There are spiritual practices that not only elevate your energy, but realign you with the restorative timeline. Meditation with directed intention, where you visualize the golden timeline approaching you like a spiral of light. Visualizations with golden light, enveloping your entire body as you declare, I am ready to reclaim what time has not erased. Solfeggio frequencies, especially 528 Hz healing and regeneration, and 963 Hz divine connection, which act as codes to reorganize your vibrational field. Vibrational writing, where you record on paper, with faith, everything you are ready to restore, not as a wish but as a decree. These practices are not empty rituals. They are energetic declarations. When you act with clarity, consistency, and faith, you emit a spiritual signature that attracts what belongs to you by vibrational right, and little by little sealed doors open. Paths that seemed blocked become clear roads. You don't need to ask the universe for what is already yours. You need to become the being who receives. Frequency precedes the miracle, and realignment begins when you declare with your heart, I authorize myself to restore time. There is a vibrational timeline that not only returns what was lost, it returns it amplified, purified, matured. It is what ancient masters called redeemed time, and what modern initiates call the golden timeline. In it, the fruits that did not blossom in previous cycles sprout abundantly, as if the universe wanted to compensate with generosity for everything that seemed to have been denied. In the golden timeline, gifts return with more strength, connections arrive with more depth, and opportunities present themselves with more clarity. Not because the universe changed, but because you changed. Time now finds you more whole, more lucid, more worthy of carrying what you once desired. And so it returns with interest, with concentrated blessings, with accelerated synchronicities. Perhaps you begin to perceive this subtly. Conversations that fit perfectly with what you were thinking in silence, invitations that appear out of nowhere, people who reappear with new intentions, and even dreams that begin to pulsate with force again. All of these are signs that the golden line has been activated. It's as if time is bending, reorganizing old chapters, so that you can now live what was not possible back then. The spiritual promise that the last shall be first is not just moral, it is vibrational. It manifests when the universe senses that the seed is ripe to blossom. And in this new timeline, what was scarce becomes abundant. What was rejected is now celebrated. What seemed like an end was just an interval before multiplication. The golden timeline is real. It is not in the future. It is all around you, waiting to be accessed. And the signs are unmistakable. An inner peace that does not depend on circumstances, an inexplicable certainty that something good is coming, and a sudden acceleration of events that previously seemed stagnant. When this happens, you are not imagining it. You are collapsing a new reality. Not everything that is available is accessed. The universe respects free will with almost surgical precision. You may have suffered for years, wished to start over, felt the signs of return, but if there is no conscious choice, a firm, energetic decision, the soul's quantum leap does not happen, because the restoration of time is not automatic. It is activated. Free will is not just choosing between paths. It is choosing which frequency you wish to inhabit, which narrative you decide to embrace, which version of yourself you want to expand. And this choice requires courage. It requires abandoning the role of victim of time and assuming the place of co-creator of your own vibrational reality. When you declare with deep intention, "I choose to restore my lost years," it is not a pretty phrase. It is a spiritual command. This phrase carries the weight of all the no's you received, of all the cycles that did not close, and of all the hope you decided to rekindle. In that instant, the soul sends a clear signal to the universe. I am ready to leap. And the quantum leap is not necessarily external. It begins within. You feel it approaching, a sudden clarity, an uncontrollable urge to leave the past behind, an almost physical intuition that it is time for something new. And at that point, the universe stops testing you and begins to align you, because every conscious decision opens a field, and every vibrational field begins to pull events, people, places, and opportunities compatible with it. But beware, restoring is not repeating. It is accessing the essence of what was lost in a new stage of consciousness. You don't go back to the same point. You go up an octave, like a spiral. And this only happens when your intention is clear, your faith is active, and your heart is free. The soul's quantum leap does not depend on the world around it. It depends on your decision to no longer live trapped by what did not happen. When the soul chooses to advance, time obeys, and the entire universe bends to honor that choice. There is a subtle moment, almost imperceptible, when the soul remembers who it is, not with words but with a vibration that echoes through the deepest layers of being. When this happens, something changes. What was once confusion begins to organize itself. What seemed random reveals purpose, and time, that very time that seemed lost, begins to bend before the rediscovered mission. The return of forgotten time is not just a cosmic gift, it is a spiritual response. When you return to your mission, when you reclaim your essence, your gifts, your truth, the universe understands. Now you are ready. And everything that was suspended, stored in subtle planes, begins to manifest. Time begins to return what was only waiting for your alignment. Delays, detours, and pains make sense when viewed from above. The soul, before incarnating, not only planned experiences, it planned rhythms, encounters, synchronicities. But when we deviate from the mission, time seems to become disordered. We feel out of sync. And that is why so many people live with the feeling that time has slipped through their fingers. Because in fact, living without purpose is existing outside the sacred timeline. But the reunion with the mission changes everything. Dormant gifts awaken like seeds that heard the sound of rain. Forgotten talents reappear with strength. The right people return. Doors that once wouldn't open swing wide, not because time went back, but because you return to the vibrational place where everything had always been waiting. The soul that embraces its mission activates sealed codes. Reality begins to respond with gentle miracles, and life becomes a stage where even past mistakes are recycled as raw material for expansion. Lost time reveals itself as training. Pain reveals itself as refinement. And what seemed forgotten returns, not to repeat, but to fulfill. At this stage, restoration ceases to be a request and becomes inevitable. Because a soul aligned with its mission is a force the universe never ignores. There is a profound wisdom hidden behind the apparent chaos of time. What you believed you had lost did not disappear. It merely remained on hold. On the spiritual plane, nothing is wasted. Every experience, every unrealized dream, every postponed promise, remains in vibrational suspension, awaiting only one thing: that your consciousness is ready to receive it. Time, in its purest essence, is not the tyrant who pressures you, but the servant who responds to your frequency. It is not linear, merciless, or cold. It is malleable. It bends to the command of the awakened spirit. And so, what seemed like delay, failure, or a definitive end, was often just the universe waiting for you to mature, for you to cleanse yourself of haste, for you to become capable of sustaining what you were asking for. When you live in the illusion that time has passed, you paralyze yourself. But when you understand that time is only waiting, you free yourself, because it is not time that decides. It is you. Your consciousness is the key. Your frequency is the code. Your heart is the portal. The moment you align with this truth, reality begins to transform. What was distant approaches. What was blocked opens. What seemed impossible updates itself. You haven't lost time. You are being prepared to live time more deeply. And now, if you are ready to accept this, you can start today to collapse what has always been yours. Because time is not against you. It is waiting for you to embrace your truth. Reaffirm this with your whole soul. If this message ignited something within you, write in the comments, "I choose to restore my lost years and allow the universe to activate your golden timeline." Like, subscribe, and send this video to someone who needs to know. Nothing is lost. Everything is returning with more light.